Hey, something happened at the funeral in Canada. A little boy was watching quietly from a distance, but nobody there knew he was the man's real son. My people, a Nigerian man living in Canada sent me a voice note recently. And honestly, when I finished listening to this story, I just kept quiet for some minutes. Because this was not ordinary immigration story again. This one involved a secret wife, a paper marriage, a refugee claim, and a child who could not openly cry for his own father at burial ground. The man said to me, Bros, that little boy you're seeing, that little boy was watching the burial quietly from a distance. Was Olu's real son. Stay with me, please. Because this story is deeper than Jackpa's story. This story is about survivor. It's about double life. It's about the dangerous emotional pressure many immigrants are quietly carrying abroad. Olu was a Yoruba man, married to a Nigerian woman named Tomiwa. They already had one small son together. They had it in Nigeria before they even traveled to abroad. Years ago, Olu traveled to Canada with the family, hoping for a better life. But when they finally arrived in Canada, reality hits hard immediately. Bills, no stable work, stress everywhere, the kind of suffering many immigrants today will never post on Facebook or on TikTok. From what the church friends told me, Olu eventually made one big decision. And what is the big decision? That decision was even painful. He sent Tomiwa and their small son back to Nigeria temporarily. He told her, please go home first. Let me face this suffering alone. I don't want both of you suffering with me here. At first, Tomiwa cried heavily. But eventually, she returned to Nigeria with the boy. Now, this is where everything slowly started changing for Mr. Olu. As time passed by, Olu allegedly discovered something painful. The fastest way for him to stabilize himself abroad was through marriage. Was through marriage. And eventually, he entered paper marriage deal with an old Canadian white woman who is up to his grandma. But what will he do? He needs the documents in Canada to stay. Now listen carefully. The man said, this was not deep love. This was just to survive. The woman herself understood small that the relationship was emotionally distant. But because Olu was always working, always constantly busy, she never asked too many questions. And gradually, Olu finally stabilized his paper properly in Canada. He has the work permit, documents complete, small peace finally entered his life. That was when he started planning something dangerous. And if you should plan it openly, it would have been a better thing. He was planning it secretly. After Olu settled small, he secretly brought Tomiwa and their son back into Canada again. But not publicly through himself. Everything had to remain quiet. Very, very quiet. Because he used connection man. Apparently, Tomiwa later entered the refugee process quietly on her own. And because Olu was already tied legally to another woman on papers, Tomiwa avoided publicly connected herself to him. Even people inside church did not know. Nobody knew Brother Olu had another hidden family living quietly somewhere in Canada. The only person who knew the full story was this church friend who sent me this voice note. Because he was the one helping them quietly behind the scenes, helping them to settle, helping them to move around, helping them to survive. Meanwhile, Olu was now living complete double life. One life with a Canadian woman, another life with Tomiwa and his son. Every two weeks, Olu secretly traveled to visit Tomiwa and the boy, buying them food, dropping money for them, checking on them quietly without the Canadian white woman knows. Sometimes he would tell the Canadian woman I'm on night shift this weekend. Other times, I'm traveling for work. Meanwhile, Tomiwa was living quietly inside refugee accommodation with their son. And our brother Olu was going there to do fiki faka faka fiki. Now, this was the painful part. Despite all the suffering, Tomiwa still loved Olu deeply. Despite the fact that Tomiwa knew that Olu is staying with another white woman, Tomiwa did not care. Then eventually, she became pregnant again. That was when pressure entered Olu's life heavily. 2 homes, 2 responsibility, immigration fear, financially pressure, no proper rest. Bruh, Olu was working fakafoko every now and then. What shocked the church friend most was that Olu eventually took another extra job, trying to satisfy everybody, while his own body is being destroyed, trying to hold 2 separate worlds together, while his own world is being scattered. And honestly, his body slowly started breaking down. Then one day, tragedy suddenly entered the matter. From what he later discovered, Olu was at work when he reportedly collapsed unexpectedly. Just like that. No goodbye, no preparation, no final warning. Death entered the matter suddenly. And immediately, confusion exploded everywhere because publicly everybody knew only one woman, the Canadian woman. Tomiwa, completely hidden. Even many family members in Nigeria did not know the full truth and the full story. They only believed Olu was struggling abroad quietly. Nobody knew the dangerous double life he was carrying emotionally on his shoulder. Now, my people, this was where the story became deeply painful. As burial preparation started, Tomiwa faced one terrifying question. Should I attend this funeral or disappear forever? Because if she appeared publicly with the son, everything might explode. The child could cry, "Daddy!" Church member might start asking questions. Immigration contradictions could surface. The refugee process itself might now become complicated. And fear might enter everybody. The church friend said Tomiwa cried for days. Not because she wanted attention, but because how do you explain to a little boy that his father is being buried nearby? Yet, he cannot openly stand beside the coffin. Or, how do I even tell the unborn child that your father was buried by another woman in Canada now that I'm 7 months gone? That one touched me deeply. The burial day came. Cold Canadian weather. People gathered quietly. Church members, friends. That Canadian woman was also there. Everybody mourning publicly. But according to the church friend, inside another car, parked somewhere, not far away from the cemetery, sat Tomiwa and her son, watching quietly from a distance, hidden. The little boy reportedly kept asking questions softly. Meanwhile, Tomiwa was crying quietly inside that car, unable to step out, unable to openly mourn her own husband, unable to even tell people, that is my child's father lying there. The church friend said that burial still disturbs him till today because he realized something very, very painful happened that day. Sometimes people survive immigration physically, but emotionally, their lives are already collapsing quietly. Now, honestly, this story carries several painful lessons. First, many immigrants abroad are secretly carrying double lives because of survivor pressure. Second, sometimes the things people do to survive immigration quietly created emotional pain nobody sees publicly. Third, children usually suffer most inside adult survival decision. Now, let me ask you honestly, if you were Tomiwa today, will you attend the burial publicly and risk everything? Or will you stay hidden to protect your future and your children's future in Canada? And honestly, do you blame Olu for trying to survive, or do you believe he created a dangerous life that eventually became impossible to sustain? Drop your honest thought in the comment, please. And if you enjoy this very real diaspora discussion today that expose uncomfortable reality many immigrants quietly face abroad, please subscribe to African Black Gold TV for more. Because sometimes the warning comes before the damage. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye for now.